Hey guys, Sheri Ann Richerson from experimentalhomesteader.com here tonight, coming at you live. And tonight's broadcast, just give me a second here to move everything. Tonight's broadcast is going to be answering your top goat milk preservation questions. And now, I have been raising goats here at the farm since I think 2005 was when we got our first ones. So, not as long as some people, but one of the things that we had to do was to learn how to preserve our goat milk. We had 3 dairy goats. They were Nubian Alpine mixes. And of course, we got more milk than we could use in one day, even though I made a lot of ice cream and butter and cheese and so on. I had wrote a post over on my blog, experimentalhomesteader.com, on how to freeze goat milk. I'm going to try to bring my iPad up here and show you that. And so I guess for some reason I thought it's just called freezing goat milk right here. I guess for some reason I thought that people wouldn't have other questions other than how to freeze it. And I was wrong because, like I said, I've got a lot of questions. So we're going to go through those one by one tonight. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comment box. I want to say hello to everybody that's tuning in. And thank you for tuning in. Okay, the first one is how to freeze goat milk for baby goats. Okay, you would do it in the same method that you freeze goat milk for people, except you do not pasteurize it if you're going to give it to baby goats. You want to freeze it raw, and you want to mark it unless you're drinking raw goat milk anyway. But if it's specifically for the baby goats, you want to mark it. You do want to filter it, and you do want to bring it down fairly quickly to freezing temperature. There's one of 2 ways you can do this. The first way that I used to do this was after I filtered my goat milk and it was clean, then I would put it in the freezer for 30 minutes and I would swish the jars every 10 minutes. I left the tops off because I wanted to cool the goat milk. The second way that I started doing it that I liked a lot better and worked better for me was to fill my sink with cold water and put some ice in there. And you need to be careful with this because your milk jars will tip over if you're not careful. So you basically want to start filling that and putting that ice in, and then set your jars in and fill them. And I never filled my jars full. I used pint jars and I filled them about this full, maybe a little more, with the milk, because you want it to be able to cool, and if you have too much milk in there, it's going to have a harder time cooling. So use more jars than what you normally would and keep the quantity in the jars low. And I would set them in that ice cold water for 15 minutes, and then I would put them in the freezer for 15 minutes. After that, I took them out of the freezer, because we're still talking pint jars, and I put them in my refrigerator overnight. Now, the reason I did this is because I wanted to get the cream off of the milk. The cream will rise to the top, and because I only had 3 goats, I did not buy a cream separator. I just scooped it off the best I could with a spoon. And then I dumped my milk and whatever bits of cream was left into a half-gallon canning jar. And I put those inside of a 2-gallon, I put 2 jars inside of a 2-gallon freezer bag, and I put them in the very bottom of my chest freezer. Okay. So for baby goats, you're not going to need a half a gallon of milk. I would freeze it in smaller quantities, maybe pint jars. And don't fill it all the way to the top because you need your headroom, because it's going to freeze, it's going to expand. Okay. All right, and that sort of took us into the next question. What containers and what size of containers to freeze goat milk in? I recommend using canning jars, and I recommend putting them inside of freezer bags, even if you use smaller jars, because you don't want them to burst and make a mess in your freezer. Now, you can use freezer bags if you want. You can use plastic containers that are okay to put in your freezer. You can use about any container you want and about any size container you want. It's really going to depend a lot on how much milk you want to thaw at one time. And keep in mind, it does take 2 to 3 days to thaw that milk, so it's not an instant. Okay, and somebody did ask me about freezing in breast milk bags. I have never breastfed or used breast milk bags, so I don't know that those are freezer safe. Um, I would say no, but if you know they're freezer safe, then, I don't see why not. I mean, but I would question that. Okay, my next question is how quickly to refrigerate goat milk. Now, I pasteurized. I did not ultra pasteurize, and I had an old pasteurizer, so I followed the USDA guidelines, which it's been about 2 years since I've done goat milk, so it's the exact timing I am not real sure of, but if you want to know, let me know, and I'll look that up and put it on the blog post. But as soon as my milk came out of the pasteurizer, I cooled it, which was 15 minutes in the ice bath and 15 minutes in the freezer, and then I refrigerated immediately because you don't want any kind of bacteria or anything to start growing. It is good in the refrigerator for 1 week, and that's whether it's fresh or frozen. Okay. Now, as far as how to preserve, I think freezing is best. I know some people dehydrate it, but I have never done that, and I know there's some safety issues. If you know how to do that, that's fine, but I recommend freezing. Okay. And several people wanted to know if freezing actually killed the enzymes. And freezing does not kill the enzymes. It is fine. A lot of this is going to depend. Are you dealing with raw goat milk? Are you dealing with pasteurized goat milk? What are you doing? But no, the process of just freezing does not kill the enzymes. And how soon to freeze? I recommend that day or first thing the next morning. We milked twice today. We milked sometime between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, and then again 4 to 5 o'clock in the evening. Usually my morning milk I would scrape the cream off of and use up during the day, and it was my evening milk that I would then freeze the next morning, and that let a lot more of the cream rise to the surface, I think. Okay, how to store in the freezer. You want to use a chest freezer, and you want to put it on the very bottom of your chest freezer. Again, I recommend using glass containers such as ball jars, and I recommend putting it inside of freezer bags. Like I said, this is just a safety precaution. You can freeze it for up to 6 months. I can tell you there was 2 of us in the household, and between the goat milk that I used and the goat milk that we froze, it never lasted 6 months. We ran out way before then. Okay, and is it okay to freeze whey? Yes, it is okay to freeze whey. Do it just like you would the goat milk. Okay. Now, this one, I have one opinion. I have a friend that has another opinion. So, I'm going to say use your best judgment. Can you refreeze goat milk and goat cream? Okay, my initial thing is no, don't refreeze it. Make some cheese, make something with it. I have a friend who's raised goats a lot longer than me, and she says that she has refroze the milk and the cream, and she has never gotten sick. So, again, use your own judgment there. I'm going to say no, but, if you really want to give it a try, she says it doesn't hurt anything. I would think there would be a lot of factors that come into play there, such as how cold has the milk been, how thawed has it become, Okay, and how do you thaw goat milk? Thaw it in the refrigerator. Don't put it in cold water, and don't set it on your countertop. Put it in the refrigerator and let it thaw naturally. Like I said, it's going to take 2 to 3 days, but I've never had a problem that way. Okay, and when I do freeze it, I do use those little plastic screw-on caps for my canning jars. So the canning jar is sealed, and then it's inside of the 2-gallon plastic freezer bags. Okay, and this is multiple questions that I'm putting together. It is about flaky, lumpy, and separated goat milk after it thaws. Okay, if your goat milk is flaky or lumpy or separated before you do anything with it, as in when it's coming out of the goat, those flakes and those lumps can mean mastitis. I would not use that milk. I would check your goat for mastitis. There are kits you can buy at home. And if you go to my blog, experimentalhomesteader.com, over on the animal husbandry section, I have a homemade mastitis cream as well as a teat spray. I use that. I never had mastitis here, but I used it anyway because it was more natural than anything I could buy, and the goats seemed to not mind it. We started out conventionally with goats, and within a year we went organic. And I just feel like the organic and the homemade stuff did a lot better for me. So, okay, but if it's fine when you put it in the freezer, you bring it out and you thaw it, and you end up with flakes, lumps, or separated goat milk, you want to take a whisk, do this by hand with a whisk, and just whisk it together, because all that is your buttermilk, or the cream, has separated from the milk itself. It doesn't mean it's bad, it's just separated. All right, and how does frozen goat milk taste? I don't think it tastes any different than fresh goat milk. It's, if you get it right when it's first thawed, it's like really, really cold and really good. Just because it's colder. When I first thought about getting goats, I'm allergic to cow's milk. And so when I first thought about getting goats, I was kind of freaked out because we went to the store and we bought some goat milk products. And they were organic, and they had an absolute horrible goaty taste. I don't know any other way than to explain it. It had an off taste. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to raise an animal that I don't want to drink the milk from. And so we talked to the lady that we was getting the goats from, and she sent some goat milk home. I was afraid to taste it. That stuff from the store really did it for me. And my husband tasted it, and he said he couldn't tell the difference. And I said, oh, you're joking me. And he said, no, really. And so I tasted it, and I could not tell the difference. And through the years, I've had people here that say, oh, goat milk, how nasty. I don't want any of that. And I give it to them, and I don't tell them it's goat milk. They think it's cow's milk. And they drink it, and they go on about how good it is. And then I tell them, and then they're like, you're joking. No, it does not taste any different, and I actually think it tastes better because it's, it's better for you. You have to raise your animals right. And my friend told me, because I asked her about the taste difference, and she said it's how the animals are raised. It's what they're fed. It's how clean their stalls are. And I believe her because, like I said, I never could taste any difference. Not frozen, not fresh, not turned into things. And we just recently opened up our last jar of cajeta, which was made with goat milk. And absolutely, I could not taste any difference in that cajeta that was 2 years old versus, fresh. Tom wants to know if you can drink it straight from the teat. I don't know why you'd want to. If you mean to milk them out and drink it straight like that, you can. I highly suggest that you strain it, because what a lot of people don't realize, when you milk a goat, things are going to get in that milk. Little hairs that are on the underside of the goat. Sometimes they step in the milk bucket, which is, like, I know, really disgusting. But it happens. Clean your goat's feet before they get up on that milk stand. And I'm serious. Things happen. Little bits of hay will fall into your milk. That's just life on a farm. That's just life milking a goat. We buy actual, they are round discs that are made for straining milk from cows. You can use coffee filters in a pinch, and I've done it. But you need something that, you can't use cheesecloth because there's holes in it. So you need something that is solid but will let liquid flow through. So if you can't get the strainers for the cow's milk, then use coffee filters. We always put ours in, the word has left me. Um, yeah, the funnel things that you strain with. I can't for the life of me think of the name of those right now. But they're funnel shaped, and you can use them to put bigger bunches of liquid into smaller jar bottles. And we would set our filters right in the top of those and then pour the milk in. That way we could pour a larger quantity of milk at one time, and it would go down. Like I said, I was using canning jars, but because of the small funnel tip, it wouldn't let that filter fall all the way through. It worked really great. I suppose you could use a colander and a clean cloth if you had one, something thin like maybe an old worn t-shirt, if that was all you had. But I really suggest getting the filters because I think they do a great job. And normally I only filtered once, but there were times that I did filter twice because I didn't feel like one filtering was enough. So, and as for any extra, or like if they step in the milk and it's just disgusting and you don't want to use it for yourself, if you have chickens, if you have pigs, if you have cats that are outside cats, barn cats, feed it to your other animals because they're going to peck through that and it's not going to hurt them. So I hope I have answered all the questions. I don't see anybody leaving any. So do feel free to send more questions if you have them, because I'm always happy to answer questions on this. And if you've never tried goat milk and you want to, I suggest you find a local farmer. It is illegal in a lot of states to sell milk. So become friends with them and maybe they'll let you try some. Or if you live in a state where people can actually sell that, I really encourage you to try it straight off the farm, because there's a world of difference between what's fresh and what you buy in the stores. So, and not to mention fresh is better for you anyway. So thanks for watching and have a great night.